Women
coming
are
up.
not oppressed. It's men
Right. So I would love to first get it.
it's men and children who are oppressed, and men are oppressed by these crazy, insane feminist laws that goes against family, against God, and against children. And we have allowed this to go on for too long, and now we have a crisis on our hand because we're allowing these men-hating women to oppress men. I want to ask, what are women's rights? Name some.
Rights to equal pay, and other rights. It doesn't have to be lawfully, it doesn't have to come from political sphere of society. It can come from just things that men can do that apparently women cannot, such as women who breastfeed in public. It's frowned upon for women to breastfeed in public, but
That's
what's the
gross.
difference between a man?
That's gross.
How is it gross if you're feeding
I
a
don't
child?
want
It's
to see a
nourishing.
nasty breast in public.
But why?
And see, that's another thing about women. Feminist women have no shame because Satan is their father. And it's common sense that you do that in private. And there's no such thing as equal pay. That's not a right. I have with me Tia from Massachusetts. And Tia is a previous caller on my show. She's an Haitian American woman. But she's been trying to get in for a couple of weeks or so to disagree with me on some issues. And so I asked her to come on and talk to me about it. So we brought her on this morning. She's here. Tia, good morning. Thank you for coming.
Good morning. My name is actually Inocencia, for the record. I just put Tia just to make it quick the last time when we were on the phone together.
Oh, okay. And what does that mean, Inocencia?
Well, in Hispanic culture and Latin culture, it means innocent, but my parents named me because it means African princess.
Oh, I see. Are you from Africa, or were you born in this country?
I was born in this country.
You were born in this country?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. So you've been trying to get in a couple of times or so because you disagree, get in on the show because you disagreed with me and you called in. And most of the time when you called in, it was near the end of the show. So we didn't really get a chance to talk. So I appreciate this opportunity. I first want to ask, what do you disagree? What do you disagree with me about? What would you like to ask me?
It's not that I necessarily disagree. I'm just trying to understand your point of view and your way of thinking on some of the mainstream issues going on in society right now. And this goes back to my question that I asked before that I would like to further discuss. If you believe that it is women's fault for being oppressed in this country.
And I responded by saying that women are not oppressed. It's men.
Right.
And,
so I would love to first get it.
It's men and children who are oppressed. And men are oppressed by these crazy, insane feminist laws that goes against family, against God, and against children. And we have allowed this to go on for too long. And now we have a crisis on our hand because we're allowing these men-hating women to oppress men.
So is that what you associate feminists with? You think that all feminists, all women who identify as feminists, and don't get me wrong, there are some men who identify as feminists as well. Do you think that those who identify as feminists extremely hate men? That's not what it means. By definition, a feminist is not someone who hates men or is out to get men or target men or hurt men or get rid of men, exterminate men. That's not what a feminist is. So what are your views on that? Do you think feminism has an impact on your views of that, of thinking that it is that is men who are being oppressed in this country by women?
Yes.
And what are your reasons?
There wouldn't be a need for a woman to call herself a feminist if she didn't hate men. Otherwise, she would just be a normal woman, a normal American woman. But this whole idea of feminist is going against masculinity. It goes against what is right. And these women are feminists, became feminists because they hate their fathers. While growing up, they were turned away from their fathers, so they hate men, period.
I don't think that women hate men, period, especially those who are identified as feminists. I think it's definitely, I think they are just, feminists are trying to take a stand against the disparities that are unequal between men and women in this country. For instance, equal pay for equal work. A man and a woman who go in for a job interview as a teacher, per se, and they get the same job. There is still a great disparity in equal pay amongst men and women. So I think that's when women are identifying as feminists, we're just trying to challenge and transform these disparities and inequalities amongst men and women. It has nothing to do with hating men or not having a father figure in our lives or in their lives. It has nothing to do with that. I think it's just, and I agree that sometimes it comes off in that way, and I don't agree with a lot of feminists who do come up in that way. I don't agree with that representation of feminism, but I do agree with the representation that it's strictly and purely just about just gaining equal opportunities as men and just seeing it as being seen as equal counterparts as men in this country, which is not what it is right now.
But normal women know that jobs pay you according to your experience. And so men have been in the workplace longer than women. And as a newcomer, you have to start from the bottom and work your way up, as men do who start later than other men. But the feminists who hate men, they come in whimpering and whining and falsely accusing and blaming and talking about they're being discriminated against because they want it without earning it. And so they make up all these lies about men. They accuse men so they can get, it kind of remind me of the blacks. And now the Mexican and the radical homosexuals, they want something for nothing. They want it free, so they make up all these lies about racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism, dadisms, so that they can get something for nothing. So, but you don't hear that coming from normal women. They are willing to work their way up and show that they can actually do it. And it's not based on being a woman. It's just based on being a human being who doesn't mind earning his or her way. The difference between a normal woman is that she takes on life and without complaining and bitching about it. Whereas a feminist is a loser because she's always bitching and complaining because she's too weak to earn her way. For example, equal pay and all that crap. Anywhere in this country, if you're willing to work hard and you're good at what you do, the company is going to do whatever it takes to keep you there. But if you're one of those people who are complaining and whining, they don't want you because they know that you're trouble, as feminist women are today. There's no end to their destruction. I want to ask, what are women's rights? You mentioned it just now. What are women's rights?
What are women's rights?
Yes.
Basically just rights that women deserve, that women have earned, that women shouldn't have to beg for or really fight for. They should be, men's rights and women's rights should be.
But what are those rights? You're not telling me what they are. What are women's rights? Name some.
Rights to equal pay, and other rights. It doesn't have to be lawfully, it doesn't have to come from political sphere of society. It can come from just things that men can do that apparently women cannot, such as women who breastfeed in public. It's frowned upon for women to breastfeed in public, but
that's
what's
gross.
the difference between a man?
That's gross.
How is it gross if you're feeding
I
a child?
don't
It's
want to see
nourishing.
a nasty breast in public.
But why?
And see, that's another thing about women. Feminist women have no shame because Satan is their father. And it's common sense that you do that in private. And there's no such thing as equal pay. That's not a right.
How is that not a right?
You have to earn that. And no such thing as equal pay. What school are you at, Tia?
I'm actually taking some time off from school right now, but I was attending Pace University in New York City.
Did you get into that school because you were black and you were able to go due to under affirmative action, or did you earn your way?
I believe I earned my way.
But how would we know you are a black female and affirmative action is for people like you of color, and it's because blacks are not hard workers, they're not smart enough to get into these schools, on their own. How would I know that you got there because you earned it and not because you are a Black female?
Well, that's true. That's a hard question to really kind of say, have a firm answer on, yes or no, because at the end of the day, it's the system that really kind of takes in control of that. But I can say on my part, I believe that I earned my way there from my hard work in my high school career, the achievements, my successes, all the things I have achieved in high school and along my way, and all the things I've achieved in college while I was attending school. So I feel as though I can personally say that I earned my way.
But I don't believe it, and most normal people don't.
Most normal people. What is you keep saying normal people? What makes a person normal?
A person who take on.
I don't think normalcy.
A person who take on life, the challenges and issues of life, without blaming, whimpering, whining, and begging. I'm
not blaming, whimpering, or whining or begging.
You're a feminist.
I don't identify as a feminist.
You're not.
I don't identify as anything. I'm exploring identities. Why do I have to identify as a feminist to believe in advocating for women and women's rights?
What do you mean you're exploring identities?
I'm exploring what it all means. I'm only 20 years old, so I've only had so much time on this earth to really understand what everything means. So I am just taking it one step at a time. I am learning. I'm evolving. We're constantly learning. Our minds are constantly evolving. We learn new things every day. So I'm not going to put a firm label on myself just yet until I feel 110% comfortable with that.
Were you raised?
But I believe that I have feminist views, but I don't feel as though I need to call myself a feminist to believe in certain aspects of it.
Were you raised by your father and mother?
Yes. I was basically raised, yes. Mainly raised by women, but yes, I was.
Your father was in the home?
No.
He was not? You were raised by a single mother?
Yes.
Well, that explains it.
How does that explain it? How does it explain it? Your enthusiasm is very, very energetic. I love it.
That explains everything. Do you support abortion?
I do, to a certain extent.
And what's that extent?
I don't agree that, a woman who wants an abortion, 3 months down the road, I don't agree with that per se, but I believe that, if, she wants an abortion a week or 2 weeks into the pregnancy where it doesn't affect, like the child is not developed fully or at all, because in the first stages of pregnancy, it's really the size of a peanut, or if not smaller. So I don't think that there should be laws directly against anti-abortion. Like, I feel like that should be a woman's choice, but I feel like there should be, maybe laws in place as to the extent when a woman, should be able to receive an abortion.
Should it be the father? Should it be a father's choice too, if the woman is allowed to kill his baby or not?
No.
And why not?
Because it is her body.
See, I told you hate men. Feminists hate men.
I don't hate men. I love men. I love everyone. I love everyone who is kind. I love everyone who's kind, loving, compassionate.
No, not true. You can't be a feminist and love men.
I don't believe that women should have autonomy, should have power over our bodies.
It's not your body.
It is my body.
How did you create the body? If you tell me exactly how you created that body, then I would accept that it's yours. How did you create the body?
I grew into it, and I took care of it, and I nourished it.
How did you create it?
I didn't create it. My mother and my father created it.
No, they didn't. They didn't create it either. They just had sex.
Who created it?
God did.
Who created it? God created it.
Are you a Christian?
I'm not religious. No, I'm not.
Are you an atheist?
No.
You don't believe in God?
It's not that I don't believe in God. I just don't believe I have to affiliate myself with a religion to hold certain morals or beliefs.
Have you ever been a Christian? Were you ever a Christian?
Sure, probably, just because, my mom was maybe growing up. So obviously not understanding it fully growing up, I guess I just, I was affiliated with religion. I went to church, I prayed. I do pray still. I just don't feel like I need to affiliate with the religion again to have certain morals or beliefs.
Who do you
or
pray?
To be a good person.
Who do you pray to?
Positivity. I pray to anything that's positive.
Who is
If that's
positive?
God, if that's God, if that's God, if that's God's, I just pray for positivity, love, and happiness.
Where
And
does
just
where does positivity live? I've never met him.
where does positivity live? You ever met him? Oh, well, I'll send you his number. No problem. Or her number. Her number. I'll send you the number to you. Don't worry.
Oh God. So let me ask, we have a few minutes left together. Are there any other things you'd like to ask me?
Yes, actually. Do you believe in toxic masculinity? Do you believe that it can be a danger to society? And do you believe that is what stimulates men to feel as though they should be in power? And do you believe that fuels the patriarchy we live in today?
No, that idea came from men hating God, hating children, hating feminist women. And if you notice that as men are becoming weaker, society is going out of control because women need good men to be examples for them so that they can have that example to follow. And as men are becoming weak, then women, especially these feminist women, they are going literally out of control and coming up with some of the craziest things that a human being can come up with because they don't have the love or the light of a man guiding them in the right way to think and to be.
How are men becoming weak if men are in constant control and just about the majority of spheres in society, if they have higher pay than women? How are men becoming weak if men are the main people who are abusing women, who are sexually assaulting women? How are men? Can you explain that to me? You said that a couple of times, so I'm just trying to understand what that means. How are men becoming weak?
I would agree with you that there's a toxic feminist thing happening in our country, and that is very destructive. Men are becoming weak because they're raised by single mothers, and so they're raised as a girl to think and feel and act like a female rather than to think and be logical like a male. And the reason that they are weak because their fathers are weak and have not stood between the mothers and the boys. And then when they go off to school, they're attacked once again by God-hating feminist men and women. Do you have another question for me?
Yes. So I just wanted to ask you if you have a preference on the woman or men, I don't know, you date specifically in regards to race. If so, why? Because I've heard some of your previous shows in the past, and the way you talk about Black women in particular, it seems that you have a bit of a problem with us. So I just would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm not into men. And if I would get married, I prefer a Black woman because I am Black. My father's Black. My father was Black. My mother was Black. And I just think that Black women need good, strong Black men, because one of the reasons that most Black women have gone out of control, they're so angry and mean and have attitude because they have not had the real love of a father. And so they only had the anger of their mothers, and they become, as you know, you become like whomever you're angry at. So they become like their mothers. And that has been going on for generation to generation over the last 60 years or so. So I prefer a Black woman. And I'm hoping that Black men, I'm sorry?
I don't think it has anything to do with not having a father.
It has everything to do with it.
How, though? How?
Because if Black women had good fathers who were living example of what a man should be, they would love their father, and then they wouldn't grow up so angry. But because they don't have that, and the mothers are angry, the mothers are passing their anger down to their children from generation to generation. And it's at a point right now that the average Black man can't even handle a Black woman. So that's why he's just having sex with her, getting her pregnant, and getting away from her because he couldn't deal with his mother. And likewise, he can't deal with the anger of other Black women. So they're looking for other women to marry. But let me ask, where do you get your morals from, your values? Where do you get them from?
My family, life, just experiencing life, growing up, maturing.
Give me an example of getting your. We have a minute left together. Give me an example of getting your values from society.
From society, I really try not to associate myself in the values that society likes to
from
present.
your mother? Your mother.
My mother just always taught me to be a confident, young, independent woman. She's never ever said to me to hate men.
She didn't have to say it because she hasn't. She didn't have to say it.
No.
It's in her DNA, so you just pitch it up naturally.
It's in her DNA. Oh, Jesse.
Tia, thank you for coming on.
Scientists prove that already?
Tia, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Just hopefully, thank you for having me. Maybe we can do this again.
Absolutely. Bye now.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Tia is nice young lady, but she's a good example of why we need to bring back God's order, where men and women need to love what's right with all their heart, soul, and might. And if you want children, get married and become a living example of what your children should grow into. She's an example of that. That's what's wrong in the country today. It starts in the home.